So before we get into this, let me just remind you of a Bob Iger. He released like a book, he was the man in charge of everything before Bob Chapek took over, and he stated in here and multiple other times that had Steve Jobs still been alive, Disney and Apple would have merged. Okay, now let's get into the actual thing. Okay, so the pie in the sky scenario. What if Apple buys Disney? Well, first and foremost, if you go look at the last 15 years, there was actually talks of a merger around 2011 to 2012. Disney, though, ended up seeing a huge, and I mean monstrous rise in stocks, thanks to their acquisitions, and of course, thanks to Marvel, specifically the Avengers. They became the Disney that we know today. They went from like $20 a share to over $100, okay? So this was a huge thing, and then things started to roll in a different direction. Now, at the time, the perception of the future, what was coming in the next decade, was still unknown. A lot of people knew that, TV, the core TV, that aspect was on the way out, but something was going to replace it. Naturally, this is streaming. Apple is not currently doing good in that. Disney is. And as I said at the beginning, this was something that a lot of people thought was going to happen in Steve Jobs' lifetime. Unfortunately, he ended up passing away, so things moved in a different direction. But if we look at how the industry is changing, you're getting more and more to that mega corporation level where it's just a few big companies left over. And again, Warner Brothers is a part of this. I don't know why people don't understand this. NBC Universal are a part of this. Warner Brothers owns an entire cable and news outlet company. Half of America gets their internet through Time Warner, through Warner Brothers, through AT&T. The other half through NBC Universal, aka Comcast. Again, this is the way of the future. It's changing. Industries are changing. People just have to take off their I hate Disney, they're a monopoly glasses, and look at the industry is already a monopoly. From every single facet of entertainment, that's what it's becoming, because you can't sustain survival the way you're going being on your own. So what happens if Apple does end up acquiring Disney? Well, let's be real. If they're looking to acquire somebody, are you going to go, with all the money you have, are you going to go after Sony? Or are you going to go, we'll just pick up Disney and maybe Spider-Man as well? Because that's what they'll do. And I know people don't understand because people are so level-headed in their own way of thinking. Well, I don't have an Apple phone, I have a Samsung, therefore Apple can't possibly have that much money. Apple is worth $1.15 trillion. Disney is worth less than $200 million. Apple was estimated to have $350 million they could just spend on anything, and it would not even come off their bottom line. They would actually make profit from spending that much. That's why these analysts are saying this. Right now, Disney is the lowest they've been since their giant boom, and they're telling Apple, look, if you want that entertainment empire, this is what you do. Now, what would change if they were to acquire them? Well, let's go over the basics. Nothing would change other than a few exec changes, like what happened with Fox and all that. They would let it operate as its own thing because they're a well-oiled machine, and Apple would just want to bring all of that in under their umbrella. That's what it would be about. Now, when you think of it that way, Apple could literally step in there being like, Kevin, what do you need? And he's like, we don't have Spider-Man. And they're like, all right, so I don't know, Sony, how much you want? 12 million? Here's your money. We're going to buy that and Men in Black and pretty much everything you've ruined. And they could, and they wouldn't even feel a dent. Again, this is kind of the way of the future. And again, this is where we're at. This is where the industry is heading. It might not happen right now, but years from now, it will be one company. And maybe, Apple will buy somebody else. But realistically, if they're looking to spend all this money that they have just laying around, literally, why not buy the kings that are ruling entertainment right now? Why would you not want to buy them and instead gamble on a Sony or a potential Paramount and their unproven franchises or lack of track record when the number one company out there, the former head, said, we would have merged all those years ago? And don't forget, they already have a working relationship. If you get an Apple Watch, I have one, It's already preloaded with a bunch of Disney stuff. Again, there's reasons to look at this and go, yeah, you know what, this might happen.